Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to our community. I'm Andy Thornton, coming to you from the I've Decided studios, and the Our Community podcast is sponsored by I've Decided and the Greater Peoria Family YMCA. And just to let you know, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, the Greater Peoria Family YMCA is having a Healthy Kids Day event Saturday afternoon at noon at the YMCA at 7000 Fleming Lane, where there will be all kinds of outdoor activities for you and your children to experience. So come to the Y and check it out. So, do you try to avoid difficult experiences in your life? Do you embrace the no pain, no gain philosophy? Well, in today's episode of Our Community, we're going to discuss why embracing difficult experiences and battling through adversity is good for achieving success. Joining me today is Erynn Dykstra and Sarah Fletcher. So, ladies, I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the I've Decided community and those that are listening to us on podcast, who you are, what you do, and then you talk about this big event that's coming up for the Women's Fund.
Sure. So I'll do a quick. Hi, I'm Erynn Dykstra, and I am a life and health specialist or insurance agent with Envision Insurance Group. But I am also the vice chair of the Women's Fund Board, which is putting on the event that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, and my name is Sarah Fletcher. I am the Director of Grants and Communications Community Initiatives, at the Community Foundation of Central Illinois. And I am the staff person that chairs the Women's Fund. So Erynn is our vice chair, and we have a big event coming up May 9th. It's our Leader Luncheon, which honors local women. We have 7 awards that we will honor local women with in various categories, and that's coming up on May 9th at the Paradise. So we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've had the pleasure of being a reviewer for the grants the last couple of years for this event, and that is a huge undertaking. Not only to be the reviewer, but just the whole event and everything that goes into that. It's a big deal. How many years has it been going on?
So we actually took over the Leader Luncheon from the YWCA.
Right.
So that started in 1978,
Wow.
I believe. So we've had it since 2012 with the Women's Fund.
Okay.
So
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge event. Lots of great. The one thing that I found when going through the review process of all those nominations, and there's like 40 or 50 of them
42
every year,
this year.
42, is that's a very hard choice to make on who's going to get that award. There are a lot of great people doing a lot of great things in our community, but the process that you guys have established is awesome. Right?
Yeah. We've got 7 different categories. So we have the arts, education, business, community service, an emerging leader, which is a woman 25 to 40, healthcare and wellness, and then a young woman's service award. That's for a high school senior, and that actually comes with a $1,000 scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So 7 categories, 42 nominees this year. I think we will sell out. We have around 60 tickets left currently.
Wow, it was just 100 the other day.
There were.
So how do people get tickets if they want to go?
They can visit the Community Foundation website, communityfoundationci.org, and there's a big banner right on the front that says Women's Fund Leader Luncheon.
It's at the Paradise, right?
It is at the Paradise on May 9th.
May 9th. Okay, you said that. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing about that. Thanks for being here today. We're going to talk about trials, right?
Oh, yeah.
We all have trials in our life, right? It's kind of the inevitable experience that we all have to go through. But I think that when we go through trials, it's not that we're going to go through a trial, it's how we respond when we go through a trial, right? It's really, that's where the growing takes place. So we're going to talk a lot about that today and hopefully give everybody some good tips and tricks and on how to work through those and use those to your benefit, right? So let me set the table just a little bit. So we're going to define the word trials, and I'm using the definition that Kim has used in her weekly winning resource for the I've Decided community. But we're defining trials as difficult experiences, a test of faith, patience, or stamina. Without a doubt, trials are hard and they can be painful. But those challenging life experiences can produce some of the best fruit in our lives if we just commit to embracing them rather than avoiding them.
Mhm.
That's my perspective. What do you guys think when you hear that? Do you agree with that? Do you?
Oh, I totally agree. I deal with it, I mean, on a personal in my life. I am the mother of a son with autism.
Okay.
And that in itself, just, I was not a very patient person to begin with. And every day is a different day, and you never know what you're going to deal with. And I had to learn patience, and I had to learn stamina. And even though it's that constant, like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, something that worked yesterday doesn't work today. We got to try something new. And it's just that, you got to keep going, and you do build stamina, and you do build patience. And so, I mean, on a personal note there, and then, like, on my business side, being in sales, I deal with rejection on a daily basis. And, it's part of, like, not taking it personally. And it's like, okay, they're not saying no to me. It's whatever. And then, keep going.
Right. That's great.
Not getting, discouraged. And
that's great. Sarah, any thoughts from the Community Foundation perspective? And even when you think about the event, right?
Sure.
And everything that goes into that and all the experiences to make this thing successful, because when it happens on May 9th, nobody's going to see any problem. It's going to be
Fingers
super
crossed,
successful.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a huge undertaking. And I'll bet as you go through that experience, you're faced with a lot of trials.
Oh yeah, it's just live and learn, right? Things that every year we're recapping what didn't work, what worked well, what do we want to repeat, what do we want to improve. A big thing for us has just been outsourcing the AV, because that's not in any of our skill sets. So we're going to find somebody that has that skill set. So that's been a hiccup in years past, but again, we're going to outsource it. So live and learn. And then just overall with the Women's Fund, I think, what we do is we make grants to community organizations that support women and girls in the community, and just interacting with those nonprofits and learning about their missions and the services that they provide to women and girls in our community every day who are going through those trials and going through those tribulations. It's such a rewarding job to be able to help those people and be able to raise money and make those grants. But it's just a side sometimes that not everyone gets to see in our community. So just learning more about that and the needs in our community, I think.
And you guys have done some significant work with the Women's Fund. I think you just celebrated a pretty huge milestone with your fund, didn't you?
Oh,
Why don't
yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
So the Women's Fund started in 1993. With the goal of getting women to see themselves as philanthropists. And the original intent was to find 1,000 women to donate $1,000. And they thought, that'll be easy. That's a quick goal. And it took a little longer than anticipated. And over time, that fundraising model has changed. It's not, it's $1,000 over time to be considered a founding member, but donations in any amount help build the endowment. So we actually just reached we hit our $1 million balance at the end of 2022.
Fantastic.
So that was a long time coming, but very, very exciting for the Women's Fund. And that balance in the endowment. So it's a permanent fund at the Community Foundation. So we're granting off the interest. That will allow us to grant around $45,000 a year in perpetuity. That's awesome. To organizations that support women and girls.
Congratulations to both of you and to all those that are involved. You're doing some really cool work with that. And this event is kind of the culmination of all of that. We're celebrating a lot of those successes.
Yeah, this event is our largest fundraiser, and all of the money raised goes to build that endowment. So that's
really cool. Well, for me, as we dig into this conversation, we're going to talk about 4 ways that trials can help lead us to success. And this conversation is really built around the article that Kim wrote this week and did so well. But for me, in order to, as we enter into the conversation, I think with all of this, your perspective matters, right? You have to have the right perspective when you're facing trials. 2 things that stand out for me are you got to realize that the difficult experience you're going through is going to make you better. And you got to be ready to embrace that. And then you got to look for opportunities to grow through that experience. And that's easier said than done. I get it. But I think when you have a perspective that, okay, this is going to be hard. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I know that I'm going to be better when I get through this, that it makes it a lot easier to and probably helps us get through the trial a little bit quicker. So I think that that's an important perspective, at least that I share when I am faced with a trial, and it's always seemed to help me approach it a little bit differently. So 4 ways that trials lead to success. The first one is trials strengthen us, right? And I like to think of it, Kim did a good job of framing this up in her article. It's like lifting weights, right? You lift weights to build muscle, to build strength, right? And if you look at a trial kind of as the same way, as this is going to make me stronger, make me better, that we're going to have a better opportunity for success. Kim put it in her article. She said something, and I've made a note of this on our paper, that this is a quote from Kim Martin. Okay, so this is really important. You have to listen to this because Kim Martin said this. Trials make you tough, right? And I think that that's an important thing. So do you agree? Trials make you stronger?
I not only stronger, but they help you grow. Because if you can't get out of your comfort zone, you got to constantly push, and you grow in experience, you grow in knowledge, you grow in ability, you find a better way of doing things. It's strength, growth.
Yep, absolutely. Any thoughts, Sarah?
Tim, it makes me think of gratitude and being grateful for the times that you're not going through.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Because when you're in the midst of something really difficult and you're thinking you're not going to get through it, or you just can't do it, I think that just puts, you said your perspective matters, and I think that's very true. And just being conscious of those times that it is smooth sailing and you're not going through those things, and how thankful you are for that, and just kind of putting it in perspective.
Yeah, I like the appreciation piece of that. That's a little different perspective to look at, but I think it's important. Absolutely. Trials refine us, and this change is hard. I'm going to share a quote here in a minute. Change is really hard, and it is hard for everybody, but change is necessary really for us to be successful. Would you agree?
Yeah.
There's opportunities to change almost daily, right? We just have to be open to explore those opportunities, and they're not always right. I get it. But it's really hard. And our natural tendency is that I want to resist change because I know what I've got going on right now, and I'm comfortable with this, right? This change is going to be really difficult, but we really have to embrace it. Thoughts on that?
Again, it's, how do I say this? I took a move, or I put it, like our goal or whatever last year was to get myself out of my comfort zone. And so it wasn't necessarily like a yes year, but it was, if somebody asked me to do something that I normally wouldn't do, or as soon as I heard it, I was like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I'll do it. Just to push myself so that I could try something new and learn something new, and just because then you're like, okay, I can do this. That wasn't so bad. It scared me to death, but you know what? It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Can you share one of those examples of something you did that was new and different and difficult? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
No, it's just,
I'm intrigued.
I've gone through a lot of different things, like a different career path. I'm 50. And so, trying new things and just things that I want to accomplish. And at my age, a lot of people are like, oh, let's do this. But I'm like, you know what? No, I want more things. I'm going to try new things. I'm going to push more. But I've been approached about, like today, I found out literally 45 minutes ago, hey, can you do the podcast? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Didn't have it in my day and didn't know what I was going to do, but here I am trying something new. Never done a podcast before.
Well, we're thankful you're here.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think that's a great example, right? Of understanding that it's okay. I'm going to put myself out there. Probably it's going to make me better, right? Yep. This is a new experience. And we were talking off air. You said you've thought about doing this before.
Yeah, I've always.
So now you've got a firsthand experience.
Yeah, I always thought it was like I mentioned my son before, who has autism, and I always thought it'd be kind of a cool podcast for he and I to get into conversations, because it's just interesting his viewpoint on the world. And I always thought it'd be kind of a neat, kind of just have that back and forth conversation between he and I. And if people listen to it, the great. If not, whatever, but, or maybe it'll help, other people out there. But I just never knew if it was difficult or it was one of those, I don't know about it.
Yeah.
I want to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I think it sounds like a great idea.
But,
and if you do it, the Y will sponsor it. Will help sponsor it.
oh,
I think that's
thank
an
you.
awesome idea.
Awesome.
It'd be an awesome perspective to share for others who are
and
going through those same types of challenges.
Yeah. And my son's 18 and in college, and just to let people know, especially, when their children are just diagnosed and stuff, there's some things you have to deal with, a lot of trials you have to deal with. And I think it's great because he is able to express his thoughts and, viewpoints on things.
Yeah.
So.
And think of how empowering that could be for others.
Oh yeah. And my son would
great.
love it because he'd have a microphone and
Good for him. Good for him. So I think back to when was it? I guess it was about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, when I came to Peoria for the current job that I have as the CEO at the YMCA. I was doing the same job at another YMCA in Sterling, Illinois. So just an hour and a half north of here. But I'm from Peoria, and coming home was always a big deal for us. And I remember sharing with my board that, hey, I'm leaving, right? I got to tell these people that have invested so much in me and built great relationships for 7 years and had some really good things happening for that YMCA, that it's time for me to go and pass the torch on to the next leader. And a lot of fear goes into that process of how are people going to receive this, right? Are they going to be angry at me? Are they going to be welcoming to this idea, or how's that going to go? And I had a board member, it was one of my strongest board members at the time, and was a pretty prominent business leader in town. And he got it. He understood that change happens. But he gave me a quote that I think goes really well with this piece of the conversation. And I have this thing stuck on the wall of my desk right next to my computer. I see it every day just to remind myself of the importance of change. And this is what it says. It says, when your desire is stronger than your fear, change is your friend. Okay. When your fear is stronger than your desire, change is your biggest enemy. So, I lean into that all the time. And we see change at the Y constantly.
Oh, yeah.
No bigger moment of change than when COVID came around. And that changed everybody's life, right? For the good or the bad. And there's a lot of good that came out of that, as frustrating as it was. But it really made us rethink about who we are and what we're trying to do. And we understand, at least at the Y, that, it's okay to change, right? You got a purpose, right? You can't just change to change. You got to have a reason for it. But you really got to lean into that, right? And not be afraid of it, because there's so much good that can come of it if you do it the right way.
Definitely.
All right. Trials teach us. That's the third point. They teach us. No better teacher than experience, right? I think if we all look back on our life, there's tons of things that happened in our life that we thought were brutal, but made us better, right? So is there anything that you want to share, or any thoughts that come to mind about how you've been taught by going through trials? Sarah, anything come up?
Just with kind of the event planning side
Sure.
with women's fun stuff. Again, the first leader luncheon that I planned is probably very different than this leader luncheon that I planned. So just learning a little bit each year and what works and what doesn't. The best way that we can support the organizations that we are trying to raise funds for, and listening to them and their feedback as far as what they're needing. So that personally, motherhood is a great teacher.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm a toddler right now.
Oh,
so
change every day.
every day, and patience comes into play very regularly.
So a wise person told me a long time ago, and this wise person is my mother, and she'll be watching this video at some point, and we'll comment on it on Facebook, I'm sure. But Mom, this sticks with me all the time, is if don't ever pray for patience, right? Because if you do, you're going to get a trial. That's just how God works, right? He's going to teach you how to be patient by giving you a trial. And I don't know if that's absolutely true. I don't think that's true, but that's really important thing. And I think we just have to be willing to embrace it all, and it teaches us. But experience, it really matters. And we can look back all the time and I've become better through that, I think. Any thoughts from you, Erynn?
No, I mean, just you're not going to get experience unless you try things.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't achieve experience if you're doing the same thing over and over again. You have to get out and, try something new, learn something new, meet new people. And like today, I mean you for the first time,
right.
And now we're going to do a podcast together. But,
you're going to do it
okay.
with your son. I'm
but
just going to.
But it's that getting out of your comfort zone, going across the room, saying hi. Kim's amazing at this. She's the net. Oh, you two need to meet.
Yeah, she does that a lot for me too.
But it's just the just getting out and trying something, learning. I keep going back to the learning and knowledge, but all of it is experience. I mean, you don't know until you've tried.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my philosophy. It's like, I'll try anything once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll do it again, but I'll try. I'll give it a try.
Right. Because you won't know if it's good or bad until you do it.
Yeah. And then back on kind of what my mom was the same way. My mom was always like, God's not going to give you anything you can't handle.
That's absolutely true.
And if life was easy, life would be so boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'd be robots.
Yeah.
Right. Who wants that? Okay. The last point. Trials mold us. Right. Good or bad, it all builds us up. It helps mold us. The trials we withstand make us who we are today and allow us to become who we were born to be. Right?
Yes.
Any thoughts, final thoughts on that, or anything to do with trials that come to mind?
On the molding thing, I think it's an ongoing process because I am not the same person at 50 that I was when I was 20.
Right.
And I like this person.
Yeah, thank God. Right.
Oh,
the same way.
I like myself so much better. It's just, you get better. What do they say? You get better like a fine wine with age and experiences
Wisdom, right?
and wisdom. Yeah, but it's just, I like myself so much better now, just based on the experiences I've had and the things I've had to deal with and how I've grown and developed and learned how to respond. I'm not as quick, to be like, now it's more, I'm more tolerant. I'm more patient. I'm more understanding. As a mom, you have that trip to Target and you see another parent with their kid screaming. And before I'd be like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
My
kid's never going to act like
that.
Right?
Yeah. But now going through that, I'm more tolerant because I don't know what happened in their situation. I don't know what happened at home.
Exactly.
Maybe something happened or the kid doesn't feel well, or maybe they haven't eaten. They haven't, you have no idea what's going on. And so it helps it to be not as judgmental and to be more forgiving and understanding.
Yeah, applying grace.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Being graceful and applying that to other situations. I think that's really important. And here's kind of the final piece for me. If you don't know that, or if you don't believe anything that we're telling you, well, believe God, right? Because God is the creator of the universe. God is the one who's provided us all life. And I like to do this with the podcast, is just find a scripture that kind of aligns with the conversation. And there's a beautiful piece of scripture that comes out of the book of James. It's chapter 1, verses 2 and 4. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." We can't be who we're called to be if we don't experience trials, right? That's the bottom line. We have to understand that. We have to embrace that. We have to settle into that and know that this is for the best. Even though it's hard, it's going to make me better. Final thoughts before we wrap up? Sarah? No? All right.
I don't know. It makes us who we are. And
It does. It does. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I know it's been helpful for me. I appreciate you jumping on last minute.
Oh,
It's been great to
enjoyed
meet
it.
you
Thank you
and
for
be
the
a part of
invite.
it. And I look forward to your podcast coming up soon.
All right.
Right, hearing more about that. So thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you next time here on Our Community.